I laughed at my dad's face when my mom rejected his marriage proposal. I'm a 27-year-old male, and my parents never got married. My paternal grandfather married my grandmother after she got pregnant with his first son, my dad. When the second baby came, he found out it wasn't his, but he couldn't divorce her because our family was extremely religious. They aren't anymore. And divorce was not on the table for him. It would have meant being cut off by his entire family. So he stayed with her until she passed away. My dad saw how unhappy his father was and how it affected both his own life and that of his half-sibling. Because of that, he decided he wouldn't get married until he had 2 children of his own, biologically, with his girlfriend. To be fair, he did talk with my mom about it, and she was initially okay with it because she understood where he was coming from. Honestly, I kind of get it too, but it still seemed unfair to my mom. As a kid, I didn't understand it, and as a teenager, I didn't feel it was my place to say anything. Well, my parents had me and were happy, but there were no marriage plans yet. It was fine, they just needed to have another child. So they tried for years and years, and now here we are. His only son almost in his 30s, and they're still not married. My mom had fertility issues, but she wasn't infertile. They kept trying to get pregnant despite the challenges, but it never worked out. My mom suggested adoption, but it didn't align with my dad's self-imposed rule of needing 2 biological children before marriage, so he declined. Eventually, they stopped trying and seemed okay together, but my mom kept asking to get married since they'd been together since high school. My dad still didn't want to because his goal of having 2 biological kids wasn't met, so marriage was now off the table. Eventually, my mom gave up and stopped asking. That said, none of this really affected me directly, until a few years ago. See, I'm an only child, and my parents kind of expected me to give them a grandchild. When my dad decided to stop trying for another baby, he and my mom apparently agreed they would get married when I had a child of my own. I didn't know that until 2 years ago. A few years back, I came out as gay, and it's clear now I won't be having any biological children. I haven't ruled out adoption, but it's not in my plans. My dad specifically wanted a biological grandson. So unintentionally, I took away that last hope of them helping raise my child and finally getting married. I know it's not my fault. It's his ridiculous personal rule, so I don't feel guilty or remorseful. At this point, my mom doesn't even care about marriage anymore. She's 58, and even before I came out, she had already accepted that she probably wasn't going to marry my dad because of how many requirements he had to feel ready for commitment. A few days ago, we were celebrating my mom's birthday. My parents, 2 of my aunts, my uncle, my dad's half-brother, and me. My mom was having a great time, smiling, opening gifts. When it was my dad's turn, his was one of the first gifts. She opened a small box, not ring-sized, more like a necklace box, so it wasn't obvious. Inside was a piece of paper that read, "Would you marry me?" She turned to my dad, who was down on one knee, pulling out a ring from his pocket. She looked at him with this strange expression, so serious it almost made me laugh. She looked at my dad, then at the rest of the family, who were visibly more shocked than she was. I was too, but mostly just blankly staring, and said, let's not spoil the moment right now. Let me open the rest of the gifts." My dad seemed shocked by how indifferent she was. He sat back down without a word. My mom went on opening gifts cheerfully, and the rest of the family tried to stay enthusiastic, maybe a little too much, probably to move past the awkward moment. After the meal, we all went home. That was 2 days ago. Today, my dad asked if he could come over. I figured he wanted to talk about the birthday incident, and I was right. He cried a little, saying he had thought a lot about the proposal, that he was now ready, and that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with my mom. He said he couldn't believe she humiliated him like that in front of the family. The entire time I had to keep a straight face, but it was hard with how absurd it all sounded. until he said that last part and I just couldn't hold it in. I burst out laughing. He got mad and asked why I was making fun of him. I don't hate my dad, but I was a little too harsh and ended up saying a lot of things I'd kept inside since I was a teen. To summarize, I said something like, "I don't know what you expected after leaving my mom waiting nearly 40 years for a proposal. You didn't need to wait for her to get pregnant again just because that woman from your past cheated. Did you think my mom was a cheater too? If so, why stay with her? If not, what was the point of that absurd rule about needing 2 kids to prove she was faithful?" And I just kept going for like 40 minutes. He was so shocked. I've never raised my voice at anyone before. He stayed silent the whole time. When I finished, he just avoided eye contact and quietly apologized. I gave him some coffee to calm him down and hopefully give him a moment before talking to my mom. I think they might get married, but I was so frustrated that he chose the absolute worst moment, worst place, and in front of everyone, and then complained about being humiliated. As if my mom didn't spend decades waiting on him to even consider marriage. I broke up with my girlfriend over tattoos, but she says she doesn't agree with our breakup. My ex and I were together for about a year. Early on in the relationship, she had mentioned that she wanted to get some tattoos. I told her she had every right to do whatever she wanted with her body, but I personally found tattoos very unattractive, and that I would likely end the relationship if she went through with it. It turned into a small argument, and she was cold and passive-aggressive for a few days. Eventually, she said she understood and wouldn't be getting the tattoos. Fast forward to about 2 months ago, she made another attempt to get me on board with the idea of her getting tattoos. I reiterated my stance and told her again that it was her choice, but that I wouldn't stay if she did it. I went out of town for a week to visit my cousin, and when I came back, she had a partial sleeve done. Her arm was basically one big scab. I asked what was going on, and she casually explained that she and her best friend had talked it over and agreed that I was being unreasonable. So she had decided to use my time away to go through with it, saying she didn't want me around to ruin the vibe. She said she had gotten as much ink as the artist was willing to do in one sitting, and planned to extend it after healing. The tattoo was already a deal-breaker for me, but the blatant disrespect and the way she casually dismissed my feelings completely broke any emotional connection I had left. We fought. Eventually, she told me to get out and locked herself in the bathroom. I was honestly grateful she did it when she did, because I had been close to not renewing my lease and moving in with her. I packed my things and left while she talked trash about me to her best friend on the phone. I dropped her belongings off the next day. She said I was making a huge mistake and throwing away something good over something petty. I just handed her the bag and left. That was weeks ago. I hadn't heard from her until today. She called. Here's a very brief summary of the call. She said that the petty drama had run its course and that I could move back in and move on. I told her that we were broken up permanently and I didn't want to get back together. She insisted we weren't broken up and that it was just a little fight that had gotten out of hand. She said I had freaked out and left in a huff, and that she knew I was too proud to admit I was wrong, so we should just call it even and I could come back. I told her I had made it clear multiple times that tattoos were a deal breaker for me, and she had gone ahead with it anyway. On top of that, she had disrespected me with the way she had done it. I told her we were done, and that she needed to move on. I told her to find someone who liked her ink because I found it unappealing and I wouldn't be able to look at her, or that arm, the same way again. The conversation went in circles until I hung up. Then she tried to send me explicit photos to seduce me, but they did absolutely nothing for me. Her sleeve was clearly visible, and even fully healed, it was unappealing to me. I told her I deleted the photos and asked her to leave me alone. Then I blocked her. Later, she messaged me on Snapchat, saying she had never agreed to a breakup, and that I owed her a face-to-face conversation if I was going to end things. I blocked her again. I know it's usually frowned upon when a guy calls his ex crazy, but honestly, this girl is acting unhinged. I never thought I would become an escort at 35, but here I am. Now I'm 35, divorced, and a mom to a little girl who means everything to me. If you had asked me a few years ago if I could ever see myself doing escort work, I would have laughed and said, not in a million years. A few years ago, I had a steady job, a marriage that I thought was solid, and a pretty normal life. Then it all fell apart, first my marriage, then the financial security in the mess of post-COVID restructuring. I tried to hold it together. I really did, but it wasn't enough. I was exhausted, stressed, and falling behind. One night I was scrolling and came across a post about paid companionship. It was someone talking openly about how they got into escorting. It didn't sound glamorous, but it didn't sound like the horror stories either. It just sounded doable. I started researching forums and blogs. I lurked for weeks. Then I made a separate email account, a fake name, and a profile on one of the safe sites people recommended. I got flooded with messages. Most of them were inappropriate. Some were sad, but one stood out. He was older, polite, and didn't push. He just said he wanted someone to have dinner with, someone to talk to. I didn't respond at first. I wasn't sure if I had the nerve, but eventually I did. We exchanged a few messages. Then we met at a restaurant in town. I wore a dress I hadn't touched in years. I was shaking the entire time, but he was kind. He treated me like a human being, no pressure, just dinner and conversation. At the end of the night, he handed me an envelope. I cried in my car for 30 minutes before I could drive home. That money paid our rent that month, and I felt something shift in me, like I'd found a way to keep us above water even if it wasn't a path I ever imagined walking. Things evolved from there. I set boundaries. Some stayed, some shifted. Eventually, I started taking full-service clients. It is what it is. I'm not ashamed, not really, but I'm still struggling with fully accepting it. It's just hard sometimes, carrying this double life. My family doesn't know. I don't talk to anyone about it. But I needed to say it somewhere, even anonymously. I'm okay. But sometimes the weight of this secret feels like too much to hold by myself. Found out wife of 13 years is cheating. Now what? Been together for 19 freaking years, married for 13. Obviously, we've had arguments and disagreements over all these years, but nothing that would make me think this is it. I can't be with her anymore. I still loved her deeply until Discovery Day happened. We have a 10-month-old daughter, so everything has been rough this past year. It's our first baby, lots of stress and sleepless nights. I work, and my wife doesn't. She's home with our daughter during the day, so I understand how hard it's been on her. I'm no saint and not perfect, but I help a lot when I'm home, though she's still doing most of the work. We're very close with another couple, have known them for 8 to 9 years. They're our age and have a 1.5-year-old, and we hang out with each other a lot. The four of us have been on many trips and have had sad and fun times together, becoming even closer since having kids. Since we've known them for almost 9 years, I really think of the guy as my brother, his wife as my sister, and love their son like my own child. My wife and I have even talked about asking them to be the godparents of our daughter. My wife and the husband play volleyball professionally, and except for 2 to 3 months before and after our daughter was born, they've been playing 3 times a week, going to different gyms. My wife is really good and competitive, and volleyball is like therapy for her, so of course I've been encouraging and supporting her. It's really helped her after pregnancy. Sometimes he comes and picks up my wife. Sometimes she goes and picks him up. The thought of them doing anything other than volleyball had never even crossed my mind. A few nights ago in bed, my wife fell asleep with her phone in her hands. I picked it up to put it on the charger next to her and saw what shattered my whole life, her text messages with the guy. The last messages were kisses and hearts, saying good night to each other and how much they love each other. My heart was racing, still not sure what was going on, hoping maybe it was all from his side, but nope. My wife was also expressing love and affection, telling him how she can't wait until the next time they see each other to be in his arms. I couldn't read much more of the texts as I was processing anger, betrayal, frustration, and disbelief. But from the few I did read, it seemed like the guy had always had a crush on my wife since we all met 9 years ago, but never expressed anything until about 1.5 years ago, when something started between them. I really couldn't continue reading. I was almost throwing up, so I put the phone down and went to bed. I haven't been able to sleep at all that night or since. Obviously, this is all I'm thinking about every day, all day. But I can't help myself. Our daughter is 10 months old and 10 plus 9 is 19, so almost 1.5 years. We were actively trying to conceive back then, but still, what if? What else could have happened 1.5 years ago? I have so many questions but don't really know what to do next. I've ordered an at-home DNA test kit. After reading more of their messages on another occasion, I'm pretty confident that so far their relationship has been mostly emotional. The only physical contact seems to have been hugging. It looks like the guy is trying to push boundaries though. The hugging only started a month or so ago and my wife is feeling uncomfortable with how fast things are moving physically. But still, she's an adult, no one is forcing her. She can say no. She can stop it. She is choosing to send hearts to say she misses him, to say she loves him. In her messages, she's mentioned a few times that she still has feelings for me and can't really compare or choose between me and him. I loved her deeply until discovering all this, but now I feel disgusted every time I see her. Every time I play with my daughter, kiss her, and see her smile, I can't help but cry, thinking how my selfish wife has damaged the life of this innocent, pure little angel. I'll see what the paternity test says next week, even though it looks like they haven't had any physical intimacy. Not sure what to do next. Part of me wants to confront her and know the truth. Part of me wants to work it out and try to understand her reasons, to try and recover from this and save our marriage. Part of me wants to punch that guy in the face. Part of me wants to get a divorce as soon as possible. Part of me wants to dig deeper and learn more about their relationship before confronting them. Part of me wants to warn the guy's wife, but I feel sorry about potentially ruining her and her son's life. So yeah, what do I do now? My mind is still not in the right place, so I don't want to make any rushed decisions. But if I want to work this out, how do I even start? My mom thinks I'm an intelligent computer programmer. I'm actually a criminal. About 3 years ago, right before I graduated from high school, my dad passed away. It had been a difficult time for me, my brother, and my mom. There was barely any money since my dad was the main provider. After he passed, my mom struggled a lot, and seeing that really made me want to do something about it. I had always been good with computers, but not to the level my mom now imagines. After my dad passed, I became desperate for money. I tried all sorts of things, from freelancing to web development to video editing to music production, but I was not really making any real money to improve my or my family's situation. I looked deeper, got more desperate, and even tried selling illegal substances on anonymous online marketplaces, since I was too scared to do it in person. That did not work out either. During all that web surfing, I found some dark hat and gray hat communities and got into activities that fall more into a gray area than straight up dark hat. I started running view botnets, clickbots, and other similar things, and I would mostly receive money for these services, and I made quite a lot of money. A lot of this stuff is not explicitly illegal, and there have not really been many people who have gotten in trouble for it, since it kind of dances between the lines of legal and illegal depending on what you are doing. It is not likely I will get in trouble for it, but it is still a possibility. I believe I can take the risk, and I am not very paranoid about getting in trouble. The money has been great. I have been able to help my mother out a lot, but the issue is that she has gotten alarmed at the amount I am making, and I have repeatedly lied to her, saying I made this money freelancing online. I have shown her website templates and claimed that I built them, and I have even gone as far as editing invoices of how much I got paid, because I think she is getting worried. It is honestly eating me up inside, having to lie to my mother this much. Hearing her tell her sisters and others that I am so good with computers and I am making good, clean money just makes me sad. Do I come clean? Do I keep lying?